Hello everyone, welcome to the Sweeney Show, Business and Law podcast. I'm David Sweeney. Joining me here today is Kate Hyde of Henparty.ie. Kate, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Dave.
It's not just Henparty.ie, and I really want to talk to you about your business and your entrepreneurial spirit and how you set up Henparty nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much 10 years ago.
And how you came from that. But like the Henparty brand has just exploded. Was that because, I know you use social media a lot, was that because like 10 years ago, maybe if you go back to the start, did you see a need for this, for that company, for that service you were providing?
Yeah, so basically 10 years ago, a lot of my friends are getting engaged, getting married, and I was asked to be bridesmaid. I've actually been bridesmaid 6 times, and I realised that when we were planning hen parties, there was nothing in Ireland available to women to plan them. So we were going to UK websites, we were going to American websites, just trying to pull the information. And so I was working in a job at the time I wasn't particularly mad about, and I was still very ambitious. I was always kind of ambitious in school and college and everything, but I never quite knew where to put it. So I had this business idea. I had lots of business ideas up to this point, some of them more harebrained than others, but this one maybe resonated a bit more with me because I could actually see there were figures behind it. So in the past, I had these fantastic ideas, like I was going to knit luxury Aran coats for dogs in America and service the luxury dog market in New York, but I couldn't quite see. No, funnily, and the fact I couldn't knit also somewhat poo-pooed it. But this one was different because there really wasn't an industry in Ireland, and yet everyone I knew was going on hen parties. So for that reason as well, I found it very hard for people to take it seriously as a business idea at the beginning. Banks turned me down. I couldn't get on incubation centres. There was a lot of kind of, back then, you see, hen parties was a very bawdy term as well. It was very, all about like, yeah, exactly. And people weren't directly looking to advertise to hen parties, even though women were spending millions on them every year and still do. There wasn't this sort of like public profile for them or focal point for them in Ireland. There were a couple of girly websites, kind of weekend away kind of websites, but there was nothing that screamed hen party. So I was working full time at the time. I had no money, and so I started just learning how to, I suppose, first of all, I sold an old car I had and got a small credit union loan to fund the building of the website. That was my biggest expense at the time. And then I started to learn things like SEO, marketing. As you said there a while ago, social media wasn't a thing back then. In 2008, it's nearly hard to believe it. Yeah. But that's when I joined Facebook. There was nothing, and it was a very different platform even back then. So I developed lots of tricks. So I went live with it, Ireland's first hen party website. I tried to think of as many free inventive ideas to market it at the time as I could. So I sent a mass email to everyone I knew saying I had just launched this website and I was trying to break the server and could they help me. My now husband, then boyfriend, who obviously was trying to, was happy to go along with it at the time, actually dressed as a chicken and walked down Grafton Street with the brand on the back, and all these tourists wanted to take their picture with him. It was gas. Just guerrilla marketing. Is that when he knew he was the one?
He was willing to do that.
I felt that was quite a level of commitment. Yeah. There was. I emailed in nationwide. I was young enough at the time. I was 28, and I just kind of thought, look,
but you must have been really driven.
I was always very driven. I was quite driven in school and in college, but I wasn't very interested in study.
And was your college, was that in marketing, business? Or
no, I'm actually a jack of all trades and master of none, that old chestnut. So I went to school in Crosshaven and I left and I repeated my leaving, came to town to repeat it, and sure, disaster, because it was so much more exciting than being in Crosshaven. So I kind of royally effed that one up again, and I went into UCC then and I did biochem for about a year and a half, and realised very quickly that I was no more cut out to be a scientist than my foot. So I left, much to everybody's horror. I left and I worked for 6 months and I travelled a bit, and then I really wanted to prove to myself that if I actually went at the leaving properly, I could do it properly. Yeah. So I went back, and actually at 21 I did the leaving for a third time, believe it or not, because it was an itch I needed to scratch. Yeah. And I went for BIS, which the points were very high for at the time. They were around 520 at the time, and I got them, and And I went into BIS and I was kind of like, well, that's it now. I've proved to myself I can do it. Great, here I am. And then realised that BIS probably wasn't for me either. I had a lot of energy, you know.
BIS is like, that's a
business information system.
Computer thing?
It's like, it's actually a great degree. It's kind of like project like if you think that there's the IT world and the sort of the business and accounting world, I suppose the skills you learn in BIS is to sort of be the bridge between the two. So you're understanding all the IT requirements and you're understanding business and accounting requirements, and then being able to talk. It's a bit like the soccer manager being able to talk to the goalie and explain how he needs to play, and you know, to the players, and getting everyone to work as a team. And so a lot of graduates from BIS do very well. They go on to London and big investment banks and stuff. But again, it just wasn't pulling me in, and I had an awful lot of energy and I was very ambitious. I just couldn't necessarily see how that was going to be the route for me out of it. Nevertheless, I came out and I got a job in IT, and I moved to Waterford actually to my now husband, and I was on Pepsi's graduate programme first, and I was training to be an accountant with them. And fabulous job, but again, the pattern started repeating itself. I just wanted to do more. And I just felt like it was very slow paced for me. I just again had all this energy and nowhere to put it.
Then you just had like an entrepreneurial or creative.
Yeah, I think so.
In you, and
yeah,
like all those careers you said there, the biochem, you know, the BIS, and then accountancy. They're quite formulaic and restrictive.
Exactly.
Professions.
That's it. You know, I suppose I was always kind of told me I was smart in school, and it wasn't that I suppose. It was just that, maybe the creative part of it was missing, or that I needed just more than working for someone. It was
I think it's
very driven.
I think it's a very brave thing to actually stop something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because all the peer pressure and under pressure, financial pressure, about get yourself on the career path and all
and
that.
I'm pretty passionate about that now, because I thought it was crap at the time. I was like, why can't I stick at anything? But actually, I just hadn't found my groove yet. And people have to remember as well, back then entrepreneurship wasn't really a thing.
Do you think that then there's an issue with the academic college programs or schooling, that we're not actually training people to be entrepreneurs?
Yeah,
training people to pass an exam.
I was able for college, but I don't think college was the right environment for me. I think it was sort of too formulaic, as you said. It was, you know, I would go to lectures, I would sit there, I would write, whereas naturally as a person I need to be up and around, I need to be talking, I need to be bouncing off people. And I think that, you know, there's a very old-fashioned sort of view of the world where if you're not in college, you're not sitting there, you're not learning, you're not going to succeed. Unfortunately, we still need a piece of paper to be recognised to get on into other areas. But I think that there are probably students out there, or people who are built like me, or from what you said, even like you, that are maybe not fitting into that very sort of rigid academic world, and still are able and very, you know, maybe smart, but should be on a different path. And it's just, you know,
do you think that goes back to like 5 years of age, you start primary school, that you're in that cycle?
Well, I was making bracelets when I was 9 and trying to sell them on the road, you know, but then at the same time I was always sort of, I suppose the message in school was, you know, if you're smart you should be a scientist, you should be a doctor, you should be a solicitor, you should be an accountant. And so I suppose I always felt that that would be
smart to be a solicitor.
But you know, but that's how we're reared, you know, that these elite professions are it, and that if you're smart then you pick an elite profession and you go into it. But I suppose even, you know, I talk a lot at colleges and I talk for startups and stuff like that, and that's often my message. There are other routes. You know, you could still argue that it's worth getting the piece of paper because we're not quite out of that yet, but just that maybe there's things you could do in tandem with it to allow, at least be able to, because if you have a lot of energy and you are motivated in a different way to people around you, that can implode. Sure, I went off the rails and I was in my early 20s. Like, sure, I was in Henry's and I was in Garvey's, and, you know, way too much partying because I was, you know, I just... so I suppose when I started my own business then, I finally had an outlet that I could put all this energy into, and there was no ceiling, there was no limit. I could just keep working as hard as I wanted and to expel as much ideas as I had into it.
And the very first then hen party you ran, you remember that? Was it a success?
But I was terrified. I mean, when I started the business first, I was just selling advertising and props and stuff, you know, like cowboy hats and stuff like that. And, you know, I was so small I couldn't even get wholesalers to deal with me. I had to find a guy in the UK who'd nearly do me a favour and sell small packets to me, just, you know, because I had no money. And then I was selling advertising to bars and restaurants and hotels and things.
So that you would then, like a hen party would come to you, say, listen, we're running a hen, there's going to be 10 or 15 of us on it, and then you would then, or you would schedule out what bars they would visit that night? Or
no, that was prior to that. They would come, and it was like a portal, so they would come and find that information themselves on like a directory of services. Yeah. So my model was that I wrote lots of content for hen parties, they would find it, I was on first page of Google, and then when they were there, then I would advertise these businesses to them and they would pay me in return for that. And then by about 2011, I realised that actually there were so many businesses now advertising with me, and I had been on Dragon's Den obviously, and I had been on Nationwide. I also featured on Nationwide, that if I bundled these businesses together and maybe started to go into packages myself, that there might be a different business avenue there for me. And so I did. So the very first group I had out was a group in Waterford, and I remember it well, and I don't think I slept that night. I think there were 15
excitement
women.
Or nerves? It
had to go well. I was relying on myself to make sure I had delivered a good service. I was also relying on the service providers that I had booked this group in to make sure that they delivered the service. You know, what if something went wrong outside my control? What if they didn't enjoy it? You know, I'm still driven like that to this day. I'm obsessed with customer service. I'm obsessed with standards. And I think you know that yourself as a business owner. If you don't care, then there's a serious problem, you know. So yeah, and luckily it went well, and then I had another few, and they went well, and it just grew and grew. And then I moved from Waterford to Cork. Cork was my next package. I then started building them in Kilkenny after that, and pretty soon I was rolling them out around the country. I was growing my team in the office in Waterford, and you know, last year we had nearly 40,000 people in our events. So that's kind of where I've come from, I suppose. Just that 15 people back then to you know, 40,000.
You just touched on it there. Your Dragon's Den experience. So like we did a bit of research, we watched it, and Mark, our video guy, I think he might just put up a clip of it there.
Kate's confident performance seems to be playing well with the Dragons, but marketing expert Gavin Duffy has a few questions and at least one small reservation.
Kate, I'm very impressed by you. I'm not that impressed with Stella, because she seems to be staring at Niall all the time. She probably thinks he's the investor now. That's the way she's set up. But actually, I just want to clarify something. Did you say hen.party.ie?
Yeah, it's hen-party.ie.
Just so I can say that again, because this is important. hen-party.ie. Right, so by the time you got to it, you couldn't get hen party.
Yes, but then I bought it. What happened was, when I went looking for it originally, it was gone. But it did come available, and I did buy it. The reason I don't, at the moment, promote henparty.ie without the hyphen is because I bought hennight.ie in the early days after I launched the website. And what happened was, when we joined the two together, it seemed to affect the Google ranking, and I slipped. Because the business is still quite young, I don't want to run the risk of coming off page 1 at the moment. I mean, I'm number 1 on Google, so it hasn't, because I've been the only website of this nature, it hasn't
You're
affected.
number 1 on Google in Ireland.
In Ireland. But actually, if you Google just web pages from an Irish computer, if you don't hit the Irish button, I'll still come back number 1. Actually, I was on Malaysia not Malaysia, sorry, it's a complete lie. I was in Thailand for my honeymoon recently, and even though I was banned from going near computers of any description and checking my email, I managed to sneak to one, and I went on Yahoo, and I actually came back on page 1 in Thailand, which was nearly as exciting as getting married, to be honest.
But you're shivered there, so what do you look back at that time in fondness, or like, is it just...
Oh, I don't know, it's just the thought of that I was just on television, I suppose, and stuff, but
you got your deal, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I don't regret it at all, and I gave away quite a lot of my company at the time, but I've since bought it back. So
that's an interesting question for people that watch that show, because that was like kind of the first time the Dragon's Den came into Ireland.
Yeah,
the first series.
I was in the first series of it,
and that a lot of people think that, like, don't know that some of those deals don't go ahead.
No,
even though they get accepted on the show, something might happen afterwards, some due diligence or something just might have worked out personality-wise.
Yeah.
But did they actually invest in your company?
Yeah, they did. So I was on the first series, got the investment from Gavin Duffy and Niall and went ahead, and in 2015, so they gave me 15,000 for 20% each. So I had 60 and they had 40 between them. Again, I was looking for ways at the time with zero marketing budget prior to social media to, bring my brand out there. And I suppose going on Dragon's Den was one of the most cost-effective ways I could put my brand into people's homes. And I was terrified. Look, you live in Cork, something like that goes wrong. I mean, my backup plan was emigration, that I would leave the country if I was publicly, I was about to not only go on national television and risk my just started business being completely, lynched publicly, but also in an area where, I couldn't get bank support, I couldn't get, because people were like, you're mad, what are you doing, but it was a very cost-effective marketing move, and I don't regret it because the amount of publicity out of it was phenomenal, and subsequent publicity, so I started getting on like morning chat shows, radio shows, stuff like that, and so I don't regret it at all.
Henparty, it was Henparty back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I managed to get that a year later.
And then did those gentlemen, did they bring a lot to the party?
Everyone always asks me that. They didn't know about hen parties, and they,
Sounds like they got a really good deal.
They did, and they would have received 6 figures back on their investment when I bought them out. So they did very well out of their investment.
And kudos to them, that's the model.
Without a doubt. There's a lot of kind of this is the way of the world. Someone takes a punt in your business at a time where the banks are saying, I won't give you an overdraft because of hen parties. I don't think so. Yeah. These guys, they probably didn't. And actually, Gavin would be the first one to say, he just used to say, look, you just, off you go. I did my own.
And you probably might have seen that yourself in your business experience, that you invest in the person. They invested in you, and the idea was there. They took that risk. And it was in you they were investing.
And in return, I kind of wanted to show them I could. It was a lot of money at the time to me, 30,000, and I wanted to show them that they hadn't made a mistake, and so that made me even more determined. So no, they didn't get involved in the day-to-day running the business. I grew the business. They didn't need to, and but I would get sound bites from Gavin on the radio all the time. So it worked well for everybody. It worked well for everybody, and then it came to a point where, I wanted to get off the Dragon's Den wheel. And the business was going in a certain direction, and we started negotiating, and that was a long drawn out process. It was my first negotiation of that kind. They had been there before, whereas I hadn't, and so I learned an awful lot in that time. And we parted company, and they were hard to I suppose, to be very crude, they were hard to get out, and yet at the same time,
but they're in it for financial reasons.
Exactly. And it was going well, so they had no reason.
You want to change that relationship because you want more autonomy.
Because
obviously you're putting all the effort
in.
Well,
that was it.
This thing is growing. And I think, when you're in business, it costs money to set up a business. It costs money to be in business, but it also costs money to leave a business as well. And you're leaving that stage of the business behind.
And I don't regret that either. That's also worked out well for me, and for them. So everyone wins, And I'm still in contact with Gavin. I don't have any contact with Niall, but I'm still in contact with Gavin, and he wished me well. And
it's quite strange, actually, if you look back at that series of the Dragon's Den, the Dragons. Some of those people have had a bad business experience over the last 4 or 5 years.
That's it,
It isn't it? Like that. We're all just in it.
And that's it, and that's just life. And I think anyone that starts a business recognises that as well. It's very much about the journey. It's there are ups, there are downs, there are positives, there are negatives, and that's just the business world. And there are people that have made $1 million, lost $1 million, made 10 million, lost 10 million. Some of those dragons haven't done well, and others have. But look, at the end of the day, what people did forget as well was I was so serious and driven about my business, but I also recognised it was a TV show. And I also recognised it was down to me to harness the publicity I got out of it.
That's a skill in itself, isn't it? Because we all meet opportunity, but it's actually using that opportunity to your best advantage.
Exactly. And there was a guy on the show with me, and he had this invention of a handbag with the light in it, and he had a fabulous line on the show, and it was something about all duck, no dinner. And so the next day he got all the publicity from RTE and from Shinawil because he was very sellable, and I knew that day I wised up. It was like, if I don't make this happen myself and capitalise on this myself, no one else will for me. So, which was learning as well. Who owes me that? You get on, you want to do it, you get up and do it yourself. That's the way I feel.
So you spoke there about, having those dragons around you that time, they're beneficial, but your team around you now has changed, isn't it? I think your husband works with you in the business now.
Yeah, he joined about 4 years ago, which was really hard actually, because I suppose maybe a lot of women wouldn't say as well. I'm sort of, I'm bolshy, I'm fiery, I'm not a wallflower, and so he joined the business, and that took a while for us both to get used to that dynamic, as I know other husband and wife couples have. And so we kind of found a way to make it work, where that, like, I still did my own thing, and but he's just, I suppose, it's just given us a great quality life family wise. He's different to me. He used to be a solicitor, and so he's very organised, and it's sort of very steady. And I guess that's why it works in our marriage as well.
Yeah,
we kind of complement each other, and also in the business. And then I have a general manager in Waterford as well, and there's 20 of us now in the company. So
20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we'd work with like a lot of I have a lot of companies I would work with closely for a long time as well, that would be sort of like IT outsourced, stuff like that, but they would also be I had a very close relationship.
Is the hub in Cork? Where's the hub of the
business?
business?
No, it's actually in Waterford.
Okay.
So I've most people are down in Waterford. We have a small office here in Cork, and then I have a virtual office in London now as well, where we started off there. So that's been another fascinating journey, and another part of the puzzle.
Because like the hen party is kind of where it started from, but it's just now taken a different ambit, where you have stag parties, and that's obviously the name it's in. That you're now catering for men as well.
And we have for a while.
Do you find that there's a different? The product has to be sold differently to a man and for a hen party? Yeah,
it does. And I suppose, being very frank, it's not as lucrative as the hen party market either, in just that guys are happy to some degree just to rock up, have a bed and a burger, or no, that is changing slightly as the times are changing. And actually it's very interesting at work, we can always get a sense of nearly the economy from what people are asking us, just because we have such a large pool of people to talk to. When the economy is poor, obviously, people are saying, how much more can I get for my €99, whereas then it changes. But yeah, it's a different lead time, it's a different set of wish lists, different price point. It's a completely different animal. So, and I suppose just because we've been at it so long, we kind of know the two, and we'd study all our data, and we'd work all that out.
And you've branched out now, baby shower.
Yeah, that's actually starting to really truck along now. Again, it's a smaller market, but it's something that hasn't been in Ireland. I actually bought that business. Someone approached me, she was getting out of it, and it was just like a small website with some stock, and we redeveloped it and just took a different angle to it.
The baby shower concept, like an Americanized team, has kind of brought into Ireland in the last couple of years. And how is their business run around that? Is it you just organise events particularly for the baby shower?
It's again directory advertising and an online store, but it's a bit like catching a cold. It starts in the States, it goes to the UK, and it'll come here. So a lot of, even for our hens and stags, we would track what's going on in the UK to see what's coming for next season over to us. Same with baby showers, it's a no-brainer. The amount of people that are now starting to like, nobody had them when I was having kids. Now it just seems like they're becoming more and more like hen parties and birthday parties. So
so what way is the market currently? What are people looking for? Like, do you think, based on what you've said there, is the economy healthy now? Do you think it's
it is.
Back in their spend, or what
people are still very price conscious. That never went away. I suppose what we might see now is if people would say, how much, if I spent X amount more, what would I get that's a better standard than that hotel? Or if I wanted, to upgrade. We actually launched another website, the Henparty.ie, purely on the back of that, because we could see that there was a different market opening up. Like, there are some people that will just be price conscious about their hen parties, and that's just it. But then there are people who are more looking for like a girly experience, and they want spas and maybe a 4 or 5 star hotel. Afternoon tea spans the board. That's a sort of a trend that came and hasn't gone yet, or sort of gin tea parties and that sort of more classier afternoon activity. But certainly at the fancier end of the spectrum, people are looking for a little bit more style, a little bit more luxury, and maybe more like experience than just the laughs and the lols kind of. So that's where we started that one.
And what's then Strawberry Hen?
Strawberry Hen then is in the UK, so that's our UK website. Yeah. Okay. So that's
recent. Is that there a few years?
Yeah, that's there 2 years now. Okay. And oh my God, I was so naive. I was like, sure, we're market leader here. We'll just do it in the UK. How hard can it be? It is hard. It is really hard, and it's again been actually really interesting to watch and learn. Firstly, about my own naivety, but also just how, say,
is that because you said it works here, it has to work there, and then the population over there, we're just going to scale up immediately. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, because why? If we just do what we're doing here, we just do it over there, and we'll have access to an enormous market. Well, actually, straight away, they talk differently over there in terms of how they interact with us. So we had to learn a whole different way to communicate with our customers.
Do you mean like on social media, or do you mean actually how you actually have a conversation?
How we actually interact with someone on
the lingo they have
on email. Even it's much more casual. Much like there's lots of like kisses and smiley faces and stuff. Whereas here we've like a little bit more of a formal tone. And then in terms of the product that they were looking for as well. So here in Ireland, I mean, you know, it's very formulaic. You know, we go and you have your meal, and then you head to the pub for a few drinks, and then, you know, that's when it starts warming up, and then we would head on to a nightclub or go dancing or whatever. Whereas in the UK, they're not as looking for that part of the hen party to be sorted for them. So the sort of the pub aspect of it, they kind of take care of that themselves. So again, we were offering them this, and like we were like, why don't they want it? And so I suppose we were trying to dictate to them what we thought they wanted.
Rather listening to your customer and then give it back to them.
So I mean, it's just been fascinating. It's
so
just always learning.
What's the difference so you see between a British hen and an Irish hen?
It's
Is it completely two different things?
No, they're not. They're ultimately the same thing. It's more that to get the sale, you need to talk a different language and understand the requirements are slightly different. Yeah. Fundamentally, they're the same thing. Yeah. I mean, they are our closest trading partner. Yeah. Fundamentally, they're the same thing. But it's just more the language to get them over the line, their expectations, and also the competitors in the UK market are very different to our company here, and we obviously have competitors here now, and they're different to them as well. So we're just in a completely different playing field, and it was really challenging. It is still really challenging.
Do you think does Brexit? Do you think that'll have a bearing in your business?
That's
something you thought about?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it will. I suppose when I started the business, it was like the worst recession in our lifetime. So there were hotels literally on their knees and on the floor, and they needed business. And that's where I was able to say, look, I can send you 50 women in one night if you give me good rates. So, I mean, if people stop travelling from the UK again, which I don't think they will, to the point people think they will, you know, it probably helps me. I have 40,000 people going out. Someone in a hotel recently said to me they don't think there's anyone else in Ireland placing that many people domestically in Ireland, if you know what I mean. So that might free up some availability for us, but it's just going to bring other problems. It's as simple as that. You know, it just is. It's just I like to swear a lot. I'm really trying to be good here today, but it's just a shit fest, isn't it? You know, so no matter what comes, there are opportunities here in Ireland for us out of it, but I don't know if they're going to ever really outweigh the. I like to be optimistic, but there's just so much crap out there too. Yeah,
you've now diversified just out of purely hen stag parties. You have a company called Baked Potato as well.
Yeah, Big Potatoes. Yeah, so that's more for like team building, sports outings,
it's a corporate kind of,
yeah. So I suppose just in that same sort of small group event space, but instead now doing like that work nights out. Team building is so big now in
fun
Ireland.
Activities, whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
morale builders.
Yeah, exactly. Barbecues, that kind of stuff. So
so you're very busy.
It's pretty full on.
So obviously that team around. Do you delegate now to people? Is that something you have to learn as well? Or are we always able to do that?
I recognised that I would have to learn how to do that, if that makes sense. So I knew that as the team was building, that I'd have to make that's one thing I often say, is that I'm really always very obsessed with everyone knowing what they're supposed to be doing, and more importantly what they're not supposed to be doing, because when everyone has clarity in their role, it's less likely that balls will be dropped.
Are you process driven, automation? Do you like, is everybody, this is how we book someone, this is how we book a hotel,
so we have our own internal bespoke engine that facilitates all this all these volumes of people, basically, in a.
And so then you heavily rely on IT, internal systems for that, for booking.
Massively, and we're always looking to improve systems and efficiency. I'm pretty obsessed with, I say obsessed a lot, I'm always looking to improve efficiency. So the more time salespeople and admin people can spend with the customer, the better the customer experience, the less time they have to spend on the admin side of things, the better for everybody. I suppose my challenge is just that as the business has grown and each time it hits a new level, and new people have come in or people have left or the playing field has changed, it's always trying to readjust your systems and your staff to sort of fit around that without dropping balls, or you know, it's not easy. Like, I mean, you know that yourself, you know, you're always hoping you're getting it right and trusting your gut, or bouncing off people who might have done something similar. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Especially with your kind of business, because you're a pioneer in it. Like, you know really, but you know you're going into the next frontier all the time into an unknown. But it must be hugely exciting as well, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Must get a buzz out of it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there are definitely days where I just love it. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's. I think maybe it's back to what I was saying earlier, where you know, I've always been very ambitious and I was always very driven, but I just couldn't quite find somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
And this is the longest job I've had now, and you know, I'm starting to do other things now as well. I suppose that to some degree the business is running itself, and I've got some really good people in now. But you're in your, what they call it, I think creative people call it the flow. You know, when you get your flow, you're kind of that's where you're meant to be. Yeah, and I'd love to try other things as well, while also recognising.
Where's the future for Kate and Henparty at the moment?
I think that the business will continue to grow, all going well, and that. But I think that for me personally, maybe at some point there'll be something else I'd like to try. And maybe it won't be anything to do with this, you know. Do
you think you might be a mentor on Dragon's Den?
Gavin actually used to joke about that, and he was like, do you know what, we'll make history sometime. You can come back and take a chair on the show. I don't quite know what it is yet, but I feel sometimes I do feel that kind of restlessness coming back, where I'm looking now, because for such a long time it was just me, and you know, every decision came to me, every problem came to me. I was needed in everything, and I suppose just as the business has grown and I've got more and more good people in, I don't need to hear and be involved in anything anymore, and sometimes I tinker with things and I shouldn't, and then I break them, you know. So I think I'm at a point now where I recognise it's running very well, to continue on this road of getting good people around me. I can make it grow bigger, while also maybe giving myself a little bit of freedom maybe for a while to explore other things, you know.
Sure. And if someone was starting out, say 10, 12 years ago, and they have an idea and they're starting out in business today, what advice would you give them?
You know, when I started out, it was so lonely, and at times it still is. If you're entrepreneurial, particularly in a medium-sized city, it's very hard always to find people who are wired like you, or who will want to, you know, talk about business plans for hours, or, you know, talk about just harebrained ideas. And I think it's really important for people to find people who are built like them, and it's easier now because of social media, and because now there are, you know, so many more entrepreneurial platforms out there. But even when I started, I had more people telling me you're crazy, don't do it, than I had saying, wow, what a great idea. You know, I was getting, but like, what about having children? What about your pension? What about this? You're so bright. Why would you go wasting it all to, you know, start time parties? And it's like, you know, these are people who will never do this. So don't ask their advice.
Do you think then that you, obviously making business decisions, you evaluate the finances and all that, but do you think you've used a lot of your gut, like what you felt was right for you to drive it on for you? Yeah,
I think you kind of have to. And I think, you know, and I have a couple of very, very good friends in Cork who are business owners as well, and we all have the same traits, you know, and really we're all, and I go back to what I said it earlier, we're all jack of all trades and masters of none. I mean, what would I do if I went looking for a job tomorrow? What the God's name would I even... what am I? What in God's name am I? You know, but you know, you just develop skills and you join your dots and you know enough about finance and enough about IT to then see another path. And so you're just constantly joining dots.
So
and,
I think
you know,
the advice is go do it, isn't it? Just
do it and aim high. I saw I can't think of her name now. She's the chairperson of the Irish Stock Exchange. I just gone blank on her name. I saw her speak once, and she basically said aim high. And you know, I just think people starting off, aim high, just go for it, guys. You know.
Great. Well, listen, Kate, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating talking to you. We sincerely wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And maybe someday we will see you sitting in the Dragon's Den.
Thank you.